I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you an exact number.
Okay.
Let me just say that it is a very small number.
Now that the president's calling for the Times to disclose the identity, are there any circumstances that you could ever conceive under which the Times would share the identity of this person?
I cannot.
So not very much clarity, if at all, from the New York Times, understanding the necessity to preserve the anonymity of sources. But Kristen Welker, the White House is not sitting still for this. Clearly, the president is furious. What we see now is Sarah Sanders tweeting out a phone number. We're not going to show it, but tweeting out to people who think that this is cowardly to call the New York Times editorial page editor. They actually posted the wrong phone number, not for the editorial page, but trying to ramp up the pressure. And the president's immediate tweet, treason in capital letters, indicates the ferocity of his response, even though it's the wrong definition of treason.
It is, under a legal definition, this wouldn't be characterized as treason, according to our own Pete Williams, Andrea. But I think that this is what you're going to see from this president and from some of his closest allies who were on the airwaves overnight. Some of them, Michael Caputo, for example, saying that this is an administrative coup. They are using some of the strongest terms possible to try to explain what is happening. They see this threat as being one that is fundamental to the president's very power and to his ability to govern this country. Now, I can tell you, and I think it's important to stress, that other allies of the president have said, hold on, let's not go that far. Let's not use that type of inflammatory language. And yet, clearly, the president has chosen to do so. Andrea, we don't have a briefing today on the schedule. We're hoping we'll be able to shout some questions at President Trump when he departs for Montana. He clearly was in the mood for talking yesterday. Again, he fired back when our own Peter Alexander asked him for a response to this op-ed, calling it gutless. Will he have more to say today? And I think it's important to stress, even though the president, Sarah Sanders, are trying to sort of publicly call out this person, the Times digging in, but I think that's the strategy, the bare-knuckle strategy we're going to see moving forward, Andrea.
And John Brennan, who, of course, has been a very vociferous critic of this administration, and his security clearance was taken away, was on Morning Joe today and was asked about this kind of criticism and how it reflects the dysfunction of national security.
If you were briefing an American president on this American president, what would be the top line of your psychological profile?
That, as we anticipated, this individual is going to be facing increasing pressure from within, and that the walls are collapsing around, and his mercurial and reckless nature might lead him to do something rash.
And it's very clear to all of you that the president has really upset the national security team and the foreign policy team in a lot of ways, not just the Justice Department and others, but Ruth Marcus. We see just today he's praising Kim Jong-un at the same time as the Justice Department is indicting North Korea for its hacking attacks against Sony and other global hacking attacks. I mean, the Putin issue, we've seen a lot of this dysfunction. What does it say to you?
Well, the reaction to this op-ed is illustrative, not because it tells us something we didn't know before, but because it so ratifies and reinforces everything that we've already heard about this president, really from day one or day before one, from the massive leaks inside this White House, inside the administration, from the earlier books from Michael Wolff or Omarosa, from the much more credible and trustworthy reporting from my colleague Bob Woodward, and now this op-ed. They are not telling different stories. They are telling the same story about an amoral, erratic president. And the notion from inside the White House that they're all in this together, that is not the way this White House is behaving. They are behaving like people who are needing to look out for themselves.
And I just wanted to pin one thing down. The Rosenbergs were not accused of treason, because you have to qualify under that kind of an indictment, you have to be going against a declared enemy of the United States. You have to be in a state of war and helping the enemy, not just speaking out on behalf of the enemy.
I think when the president says treason, he is thinking of the treason as being against himself, because he sees himself as the embodiment of the state and the country. He is not. But disloyalty though he's not very good at practicing loyalty, disloyalty is the thing that sets him off. So I understand in his own mind, he sees this as treasonous. I see it as illustrative of the dysfunction and tumult and chaos that he's brought to the United States government.
And our thanks to you all. And Casey, and I know you're going to be tracking all reaction coming up, and any reaction this hour, just jump in front of that camera.
Do.
Thanks again.
Absolutely.
And Kristen Welker, thanks to you as well. And coming up, fireworks. Fireworks after sparring all night over the release of documents being held back by Republicans. The senators are again grilling Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh. They're in a break right now, but we'll have the latest coming up.
I'm Ken Jacobus. I'm the owner of Good Start Packaging. We distribute environmentally friendly packaging for restaurants, and we've grown substantially. So I switched to the Spark Cash Card from Capital One. I earn unlimited 2% cash back on everything I buy. And last year, I earned $36,000 in cash back. That's right, $36,000, which I used to offer health insurance to my employees. My unlimited 2% cash back is more than just a perk. It's our health care. Can I say it? What's in your wallet?
You've tried moisturizer after moisturizer, but one blows them all out of the water. Hydro Boost from Neutrogena, with hyaluronic acid to plump skin cells so it bounces back. Neutrogena.
Roaming. For the first time ever, you can get ED meds prescribed online shipped discreetly to your door. No more waiting rooms, awkward talks, or lines at the pharmacy. Get your first month free at GetRoman.com/TV.
My gums are irritated. I don't have to worry about that. Do I?
Actually, you do. Harmful bacteria lurk just below the gum line.
Crest Gum Detoxify works below the gum line to neutralize harmful plaque bacteria and help reverse early gum damage. And now there's new Crest Gum and Enamel Repair. It gives you clinically proven healthier gums and helps repair and strengthen weakened enamel. Gum Detoxify and Gum and Enamel Repair. From Crest.
Gums are good. So is my checkout.
Crest. Healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
If theft were this frequent, you'd definitely do something about it. Well, it is. An identity is stolen every 2 seconds. And you can do something about it with Experian. See if your social security number, phone, and email are at risk with a free dark web triple scan at Experian.com/scan. Experian. Identity protection has a new identity.
Available now with Spectrum On Demand.
Together, we can stop Thanos.
I think we'll pass. Just kidding.
Ready?
Yeah.
Marvel Studios' Avengers Infinity War. Rated PG-13. Available now with Spectrum On Demand.
Move or die.
Bring it on, One-Eyed Willie. Your bullets, they're really fast.
Deadpool 2. Available all month long with Spectrum On Demand.
At Liberty Ford, buying a certified pre-owned vehicle means huge savings and peace of mind. You'll have the confidence knowing that your vehicle has been thoroughly inspected and comes with a 7-year, 100,000-mile Ford-back warranty. Visit a Liberty Ford near you to browse our selection of over 150 certified pre-owned vehicles now. At Liberty, there's always a sale.
Liberty's in Aurora, Maple Heights, Canton, Palmer Heights, Brunswick, Vermilion.
Last season, nobody saw Philly coming.
How do you figure?
That's the beauty of it. You never know how the season's going to end. But the beginning, oh, that's going to be wild. NFL kickoff, Falcons, Eagles on NBC.
Washington feels more chaotic than ever. It's my job to ask the tough questions, left and right, and help you make sense of it all.
Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh was back in the hot seat for a third straight day. This morning, more fireworks over the Trump White House, blocking Democrats from seeing many of Kavanaugh's legal papers from when he worked as a lawyer for President George W. Bush. Overnight, Senator Cory Booker threatened to release a document the Republican said was confidential. And a leading Republican threatened Booker with potential expulsion from the Senate under Senate rules, a fight that boiled over again today.
I violated it because I sincerely believe that the public deserves to know this nominee's record. In this particular case, his record on issues of race and the law. And I could not understand, and I violated this rule knowingly, why these issues should be withheld from the public. Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment.
Any senator, officer, or employee of the Senate who shall disclose the secret or confidential business or proceedings of the Senate, including the business and proceedings of the committees, subcommittees, and offices of the Senate, shall be liable, if a senator, to suffer expulsion from the body, and if an officer or employee to dismissal from the service of the Senate.
Then apply the rule and bring the charges.
Mr. Chairman, all of us are ready to face that rule on the bogus designation of committee confidential.
Joining me now, NBC News Justice Correspondent Pete Williams and Neil Katyal, former U.S. Acting Solicitor General and MSNBC legal analyst. Welcome both. Neil and Pete, this was pretty extraordinary because Booker deliberately violated the confidentiality, releasing the document that he says related to the views of the nominee on racial issues, racial profiling, he claimed. And in response, Cornyn, a former attorney general from Texas, just read the riot act to him. And then every other Democrat on the committee virtually, said, I'm with Booker. And if you're going to expel him, expel all of us. I mean, it was quite a moment and a lot of arguing. Neil,
it's been hard to tell from time. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Pete, go ahead, and then Neil.
Well, I was just going to say it's been hard to tell whether this at times is a confirmation hearing for Brett Kavanaugh or it's about documents. But obviously, the Democrats are saying that by hiding these documents, the Republicans have made them perhaps more significant than they really are as forbidden fruit. But this is it. A lot of them are stamped committee confidential, which meant that the senators could see them, but they couldn't make them public without permission. Some did get the permission, and late last night the committee did release hundreds and hundreds of pages, and that led to more questioning today. And now we know what was behind some of the questioning yesterday that seemed a little opaque. For example, one of the emails that was released today is a 2003 email in which Brett Kavanaugh is asked about talking points for a judge who is going to be confirmed. And on the subject of Roe v. Wade, he says, I'm not sure that all legal scholars refer to Roe as the settled law of the land at the Supreme Court level, since the court can always overrule its precedent, and 3 current justices on the court would do so. Now, today he said, well, what I meant is I didn't think that the talking points accurately reflected the view of all legal scholars. So he gave a very narrow answer to the question about that. And Andrea, the other thing today that's happened is that he cleared up something that seemed very mysterious last night when late in the evening Kamala Harris asked him, Brett Kavanaugh, whether he'd ever had any meetings at all with any lawyers from the law firm of Mark Kasowitz, who early on in the Mueller investigation was acting as a lawyer for the president. Last night he said, well, I can't answer that question. I don't know who all the lawyers at the Kasowitz law firm are. Today, given another chance to answer that question, he had a much more definitive answer. He said, I don't recall any conversations of that kind with anyone at that firm. I haven't had any inappropriate conversations. I've given no previews, no forecasts, no winks about my view or how I would rule on any questions that might arise from the Mueller investigation, Andrea.
And let's just play that exchange that you just referenced between Kamala Harris and Kavanaugh. It was close to 10 o'clock last night when she finally got her turn to ask questions.
Have you discussed Mueller or his investigation with anyone at Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres, the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz, President Trump's personal lawyer? Be sure about your answer, sir.
Well, I'm not remembering, but if you have something you want to...
Are you certain you've not had a conversation with anyone at that law firm? I'm asking you a very direct question, yes or no?
I need to know I'm not sure I know everyone who works at that law firm.
I don't think you need to. I think you need to know who you talked with. Who'd you talk to?
I don't think I'm not remembering, but I'm happy to be refreshed, or if you want to tell me who you're thinking who works.
I think you're thinking of someone and you don't want to tell us.
So there's a big insinuation there.